Alright guys, welcome to the next lesson. I see what you guys are really doing. I'm really impressed. I mean, you guys are fast learners. I'm really impressed by what you're doing. So in this next lesson, we're going to be introducing you to some basic brushes we'll be using for sculpting. So just like a sculptor, I believe some of you know who a sculptor is. Somebody who uses clay or maybe mud to create an object or a human figure, right? I believe you all know what a sculpture is anyway. So just like a sculptor would have different type of blade or tools or brushes that he uses to create a sculpt, so it is in ZBrush. So we have different type of brushes. We have the clay brushes, we have the rake brushes, we have the a lot of brushes anyway that you can use to create awesome 3D characters that would help you create awesome 3D characters. So for this course we would focus on the basic, very basic. No, we don't like plenty drama. All right, so we'll focus on the pretty much basic sculpt brushes, to help us create art. So we'll be going over them one by one so you know what each and every one of them does. All right, so I don't want to do too many of them. So today, this evening, we'll be going over them one by one. I'll be showing you in practical terms, how to use these brushes, how to move them, how to where and when to apply. It's not really necessarily where and when to apply, because it's really how do I put this? It's really up to you to decide which brush to use at what point. It's not about the software, it's about the artist, it's about the creative guy who is able to create. It doesn't matter the tools you use. So at some points you may not necessarily use the rake brush, you may want to use the clay builder brush. So some other person may at the same context want to use another brush. So it's not really about the tool, but it's really about your creativity. So very quickly I'm going to switch to this guy. So the reason, like you can see, they are not active is because there's nothing here. There's no character, there's no primitive or mesh here on the scene. All right, so we want to add a sphere. Add this guy, double click to add the sphere. All right, click on when you double click it, so nothing happens. You may see that nothing happens, but if you click on the window and drag, you see that your sphere is in motion. So some of you may be quick to start wanting to rotate, and find that it's creating more spheres. So the reason why that is happening is that when you click when you click and drag to add a sphere, you have to activate the edit object. So it has to, if you activate this, it begins to edit the object that you've added. All right, so the reason why you would have more, that's why I said each of these tools is best explained in practice. All right, so I'll do Ctrl N to undo that, so the rest will be gone. So I would have to add another one. So Ctrl N again. So I deactivated the edit and did Ctrl N to come back to the normal menu. So I would like to do that again. So I'll add another. Okay, this one added the initial sphere I added. So I would click on this again, deactivate lightbox, and add a sphere. Hold down shift. You can hold down shift to snap at a particular origin. All right, so you have to activate edit object so that you can edit this object and not add extra one. So like, if you I've been practicing this on how not to use terminologies that you may not understand, or use 3D or ZBrush jargons that I would have to explain, and we don't have that much time to start explaining plenty. All right, so we would want to like you can see, you may not really see that you're rotating it, but you are rotating it, right? Because if you click on this draw polyframe, you'll see that you're rotating. You'll see the mesh the way it is. See how clean it is. All right, okay, so let's deactivate polyframes. So you can also, the shortcut is Shift F All right, so you see it in the poly frame, what you're sculpting. All right, so Control Z. So first of all, we'll start from the first one. All right, before then, let's talk about the brush size. All right, so if you come up here, all right, you'll see the brush size. The shortcut to that is spacebar. All right, so you can see, if you hold down spacebar, you can see, the brush size, the focal point, the intensity. So the brush size talks about the size of the brush. All right, the focal point talks about how focused you want, the area of focus you want the brush to influence, and the intensity talks about how intense you want your stroke to be. For example, this is my size of brush, and I reduce the intensity to like a 3 or a 5 with my draw brush active and my focal point set as 0. If I draw on this guy, let me go back to usual. So if I draw on this guy, you may not really see that much changes until you keep sculpting, keep drawing, right? But if I rotate, you'll see that we've just succeeded in sculpting an eye. Take it or leave it, this is an eye to me, all right? There are 2 layers to an eye anyway. I found out with 3D. So this is the outer layer of the eye where you see the bulky part. So we'll get to that much later. All right, so funny enough, we've created an eye. So because the reason why this is low is because this is set to 5. So if I increase the intensity to like 100, whoa, it's overkill. Right? Maybe let's just say we use it like 20. You can see that you're drawing. I mean, you can practice with this, is self-explanatory. All right, so that's it about sizes. So spacebar is the shortcut. So you hold down spacebar to adjust your brush size. If I just bring it down, you see the stroke is slimmer. If I increase it, right, it increases. All right, so that's pretty much it for brush size. So another thing I didn't point out in the last lesson is that when you start sculpting, I believe the reason why I didn't point it out is because we haven't started practicing with this sculpting. So let's say I want to rotate this and snap it around on the side like this, and snap it on the left or right side. In the latest version of ZBrush, I mean, there's that functionality. That's ZBrush 2020. There's the functionality where you could check the side view, front view, and the top view. All right, so in this case, you just press Shift S to snap at, when you rotate and you get to a point that you like, you press Shift S to snap. Get to a point that you like this area, you press Shift, hold down Shift, press Shift to snap. This is the front. You can press Shift to snap again. Go to the top, you press Shift. As you're rotating, you just press Shift and it will snap at a particular origin. So that's it for draw. So in the next lesson, all right, the brush sizes, that's it for the brush sizes. I don't want to go further, so let's just take it one step at a time. So we've dealt with, so let me do a recap. Remember, when you add your objects, when you click on an object, double click, and you haven't seen anything, but when you draw on your scene, maybe you hold down Shift and it snaps on a particular origin, make sure you activate edit so you don't end up drawing lots of objects on the scene or primitive. There's the terminology is mesh, is a mesh, so I don't want to use mesh, so let me just use objects for the sake of simplicity. All right, so I went further to talk about the brush sizes. The shortcut is is space bar. Hold down space bar to adjust brush sizes. The shortcut, the intensity. So we'll go over the RGB and all like this. So this one will be in the next lesson. We'll talk about transforms in the next lesson. So I want to see you practice, draw. If you're on the standard brush, or just draw on your, use different brush sizes. You can, reduce the size to this form. Just draw something on your mesh. So you can see it's low quality. It's not highly detailed. We'll talk about that. So there's a terminology for it. I don't want to bore you with that right now. So in the next lesson, we'll talk about transforms, how to translate objects from one point to the other. So it's different from your move pan tool, where you pan. So this one, you can move object from one point to the other. So I'm going to talk about that in the next lesson. So see you in the next lesson, and bye-bye.